Yeah, I don't partake, but the vibe I get is that actually you go into it thinking this is going to be great and you come out of it really disappointed. So
feeling a bit filthy and
I genuinely don't know, but I know a few guys that do. Welcome back to Watch More Football, everyone. You're watching us, as always, on the Genreverse Sports YouTube channel. Listen, if you like what you see today, if you enjoy the show, please think about giving us a subscribe. It would really help us to kind of grow the channel and just kind of get out there, get the message out there to more people, since we are just a little small show here at the moment amongst all the shows that are out there covering football and soccer. While you're on our Genreverse Sports YouTube channel, you can also check out our main Genreverse channel. It's a bit bigger. And it's got reviews, reactions, loads of geek content, and you will find similar content to that in written format on lrmonline.com. We're all part of the kind of Genreverse LRM Online family here. So, my name is Cam, and this week I am here with Ryan and Dave, and producer Kel is here. No Mick this week, fortunately. Find it difficult to get Mick in at the moment because his kids now took up the great sport of football, and you know, as any father knows, you need to get your kids
also
training.
Mick's busy throwing sticks at a wall.
Littler.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
At what, twice
I think
his
he's
age?
training. You think he's so Luke Littler? You know, if he can do it, that laddie at that age, Mick can learn it in the same amount of time, and he's started some darts. But you know, it is what it is. This week's a bit different from us because there's been no Premier League football, no games at all since we last recorded, just cup games. There are, for those that don't know, there are 2 cup competitions that happen in the English Premier League. It's the same in Scotland as well, but I think those 2 leagues are a little bit unique in that respect. You have the League Cup and then you have the FA Cup in England. And the FA Cup starts way at the start of the season because it's like amateur teams and it goes all the way up until the big teams start to join in as well. The League Cup's only the professional teams, so it's over a little bit quicker. So we had 2 semi-finals this week in the League Cup, and then we had, can't remember which round we're on of the FA Cup, but put it this way, there was some upsets in the FA Cup. So we figured we'd talk about them, probably a shorter episode this week. So, guys, we'll start off with the 2 Carabao Cup games, which the first game on Wednesday was Newcastle versus Arsenal. So going into this round, Newcastle were 2-0 up in aggregate. They had won 2-0 at Arsenal Stadium, and this was at St James's Park. And we're all really worried. Arsenal's just put like 5 past Man City, and they're sending messages online saying, you know, we're coming to score goals at St James's Park. The result was 2-0 to Newcastle and a 4-0 overall victory. And frankly, I would say I wouldn't call it a walk in the park. That wouldn't be true. I didn't think at any point I really felt like Arsenal were ever going to do anything in that game. To be honest, I was nervous at the time, but you know,
I was going to say I can read back through the group chat on the night if you want, Cam, because that's not the vibe you were giving off at the time.
Yeah, go on first.
I know, but it's different when you're in that situation, right? So you're in that situation because you think, oh, they're going to switch on at some point. It's going to happen. They're going to get a goal for somewhere. But actually, if you look back in hindsight at the game, I don't think there was at any point where we looked troubled. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, right. Sense? So just to fully, be transparent. So at one point, Martin Dubravka for Newcastle made a really good save, and I just sent on its own because we were all out of sync with each other because we were all watching from different sources. I just sent the emoji, and Mick got jittery thinking that Arsenal had scored, and that's what I was referencing. It was just the save. Cam says you just can't enjoy a semi-final unless you're cruising. At this point,
and then you went back to me and said you are cruising at the moment.
Yeah.
And
I said at that point there were 3-0 on aggregate, and the crowd are cheering throw-ins, which is about as comfortable as you can get.
And I know you were right in hindsight. You were right, but at the time, I'm thinking if they switch on and they get 1 goal, it's game on again, and then they get another one, they might go for a. But it didn't happen. And I know Newcastle were comfortable winners over the 2 legs.
From the first minute, you could see how that game was going. Newcastle were just putting in one of those proper sort of under the lights at St James's performances where they're snapping into everything. Yeah. Dan Burn's an absolute beast. Like I said, the Geordies are all celebrating every single tackle and every single throw in and every single ball bouncing away from an Arsenal player. And Arsenal just couldn't cope with it.
Going there.
Do you think that the damage was really done though at Arsenal's ground? Because I think you go into that, let's say Arsenal are 1-0 up for the first leg, you get a different atmosphere at St James's Park then, don't you? You get a nervous atmosphere and stuff.
Even 0-0, if Arsenal go in at 0-0, having won 5-1 against City at the weekend, there is something for them there. But where it's a 2-0 lead, that just set it up perfectly for Eddie Howe to make it as unpleasant a game as possible, you know, and that's what he did.
Newcastle always seem to match Arsenal's physicality as well. It doesn't really suit them, I don't think.
Yeah,
I feel like Newcastle always.
I always think Newcastle are at their worst when we have a team that's more physical than us and wins the physical battle against us. We don't know what to do, kind of thing, which kind of happened against Bournemouth. But.
Arteta adopted the dark arts, whereas Eddie Howe was born in it and moulded by it.
So. He was already a man by the time he, etc. Dark Knight Rises quotes, but no, I know what you mean. It was like we were the dark arts team until we weren't, because we had a ton of injuries and then Arsenal became the dark arts team, and you do kind of feel that Arteta learned Arsenal, a little bit for that, but we are their bogey team kind of at the moment. That's the thing.
Yeah, I don't know. Arsenal.
Everybody has.
I think Arsenal have tried to become a dark arts team, and they've been more compact and conservative in their play. And they like to shithouse when they're on top, but as soon as it doesn't go their way, it sort of crumbles for them a little bit, and they don't really have that siege mentality when it's not going their way, I don't think.
I think realistically where they are, I think we'd all agree a better team on paper than us in most positions. You would have expected them to go through over 2 legs. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad we did, but I think some of that was down to how poorly they played in the first leg.
Yeah,
Isaac was class though, wasn't he?
Oh, absolutely.
You know, like he absolutely ran Arsenal sitting. Didn't score, but
he was the best player on the pitch, but didn't score. He was unplayable, which you know, considering all they needed to do in January was stump up a fiver and a packet of quavers, and they could have signed him. I don't know what Arsenal are thinking.
I know. It's you know, it's ridiculous.
I thought Arsenal had signed him
doing this to his own club. You know, a lot of people were expecting him to come out in an Arsenal shirt that night, and he comes out in black and white, and I think it really did confuse people. So you know, but our gain is their losses to say. Anyway, on to the second game, which was the following night. That was Thursday night, I believe. And we go into that. It's Tottenham Hotspur versus Liverpool. And even if you've not been following the results, you know what's happening here, right? So Tottenham had won 1-0 at their ground, which I can't remember the name of their new stadium at the moment.
It's the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's a really tricky one.
It's still waiting for this big time sponsor to come in, aren't they?
Is that what it is? For the naming rights and all that sort of stuff, yeah. So they were winning 1-0, but they have to go to Liverpool, who are currently one of the best teams in the world, and probably the best team in the country, although more than that.
The top of the league.
And they had to go there and get something. Well, you know what's going to happen. Spurs are going to bottle it and absolutely shit the floor. And that's
they didn't even
smash 4-0.
They didn't even bottle it, to be honest. There was nothing to bottle. They just
didn't have a shot on target.
Didn't turn up. They didn't turn up.
It wasn't on target. Yeah,
it wasn't. They were in a good position being 1-0 up, but it was never like within their grasp, and they didn't quite manage it. They just got absolutely taught a lesson.
There was going to be this siege mentality. It felt like a Premier League game where they knew they were going to get beat anyway. And once the Liverpool had scored, it was like, oh well,
Yeah.
And they went through the motions and just lost another 3 after that. I just thought they were actually really poor. I felt in that game.
It's a shame, isn't it?
I don't think any of us would have that surprised by that, Ollie.
There's a real sort of lack of belief in a lot of those Spurs players at the minute, which we can go into again when we talk about the FA Cup, and I'm sure we'll be saying completely different things next week. But yeah, there's just, I think a lot of those players are absolutely out on their arse because they played a full season with not being subbed out last season, and they've done the same again. They've got an 18-year-old midfielder at centre back, even though they keep signing centre backs who then get injured. I was talking to some people online because I think their situation's quite similar to the one we were in last year, although we weren't doing as badly as them. But we just were out of both cups. We were never quite in the fight properly, and as well, even the players that stayed fit looked like dead in their legs after a certain amount of games. You thought, like they can only go 60 minutes and then they look dead. And that's what I'm seeing in the Spurs players a little bit. Like some of them look dead. Spurs aren't even lasting 30 minutes before they're done though. Like, I think
they
Spurs
should still be doing slightly better than what they have.
I know, but they're not even giving 30 minutes of blood and thunder before the legs go. They're beaten before they walk out on the pitch at the minute. Yeah,
which I don't know, mental as much as anything else, and I guess that's why I say, like, even when we were in that position last year, you could see there was a fight there, and we were trying to get results. It just wasn't happening. But sometimes I don't see the fight for Spurs. I don't know whether it's been kicked out of them or they kind of just don't have it in the first place because that's the kind of players they are.
It's a bit of a mishmash of a team, though, isn't it? Like, it's not even their first string anymore, really.
No, I think it doesn't help. It's quite young across the board. There are only 2 really experienced players. As Bentancur in midfield, who's not ever massively been a leader. He's good when he's fit, but he's not on it a lot. And then you've got Son, who, is a bit of a leader, and he's probably a modern day Spurs legend in a way, but he's not playing the way that he used to either.
To me
his career's caught up with him, absolutely.
I think it's because he feels he has to try it all himself.
Some people just
but it's just
maybe
as good as those 2 players can be, they're not
the good player.
Yeah. They're not the type of players who can drag you through a game, I don't think, and give everyone a kick up the arse.
No, you're right. I don't think Son was ever that type of player, like to grab the game by the scruff of his neck. But I think sometimes the quality he plays, like, you think it's almost like not Premier League level at the moment. This year for Son, it's like he gets the ball, he's bad touch, he's passing, he doesn't look as if he's running. Very mobile. He's not like running into the space looking for chances or anything like that much.
How old is he?
I don't know.
He's 32.
Is he 32?
Yeah.
Is he right?
Yeah, I'm very certain. Let me have a look.
Yeah, I knew he was over 30.
He is just over the hill. It happens to different players at different ages. Some players look over the hill at 30.
Yeah, he's 32. He's a few months younger than me. So. But he has been playing. His first sort of senior appearance was in 2010, so that's going 15 years ago now. So he's had a long career, I guess.
Yeah, it must be hard playing for Spurs for all that time as well, and never winning anything, and just constantly feel with a new boss every year, that sort of stuff.
And he hasn't got his mate Kane anymore. So.
Yeah, and the only other guy that was in it with you, like,
he's just
left and went to Germany. I would say I feel sorry for Spurs fans, but that would be an absolute lie. It would be. I don't feel sorry for any fans other than my own team. That's just the way it goes. So on to the final then. Is it predictable the Liverpool just win that final and that's another Newcastle?
Liverpool are great in these finals. You always seem to find a way to win even when they're not playing well. But I think Newcastle, I know it sounds stupid, will give it all they can because it's, their final.
the narrative that I've heard this week it was that everyone is a bit sort of disappointed and regretful at the showing they put in the last League Cup final a couple of years ago against United, where they didn't really offer anything, even though they were in decent form at the time. I think you gave Liverpool a really good game before Christmas, the 3-3 draw, when Newcastle weren't in a great patch and Liverpool were absolutely flying. And you managed to give a good showing there. I think you're a better side.
Yeah, I think you're a better side now. And you've got
you're a better
more
side now.
Experienced players.
Yeah.
More experienced
Liverpool have got the experience in finals, but I do think there's enough of the Newcastle. Well, it's basically all the same players, isn't it, at Newcastle who've.
Well, not really. Actually, you'd be surprised. Like, see if you look at the team we started with in that final. Most of them wouldn't be in our first team anymore, which is surprising. But like, we start with Wilson up front. Isaac's not even playing.
Yeah.
Gordon's not playing. Jacob Murphy wasn't playing. Longstaff's in. Burns at left back. So when you start looking at that, it's there is a few better players in there now. I guess the worry for me is if both teams are absolutely want it and the fight's in them both, then if you're a bookie, you have to give it to Liverpool because they're currently a better team than Newcastle United, and we know that because they have consistently won more games and are currently top of the league in England, and they were top of the league in the Champions League as well. So they've been playing very good teams and winning consistently. So I think it's a big ask.
I think as well.
We'll see what
I think as well. Newcastle do their best work on a quick counter, and Liverpool just don't give you the space for that. They don't sit deep, but they're too sensible to really get caught on the counter.
They won't do they'll push, they'll do all that, but they're not stupid like Spurs and what Man City have been this season and leave you these big gaps at the side to just run into.
I think it'll be a good game. I do think it's a shame that Spurs didn't get through, because it will be good to see a final where we're guaranteed like a dynasty ending win. If that makes sense.
No, you can't take that risk with Spurs. You can't give me the opportunity to win a trophy. No, sorry, I don't agree with you.
Okay,
to understand
that, just to see Newcastle just beat Liverpool. I
mean, it would be the sweeter for me if we beat them, but
then you imagine if Spurs did make it to the final and then Newcastle go 5-0 up in 20 minutes again and all the air raid sirens go off like last time as well, it'd just be amazing.
Yeah.
It would be amazing, but I'm not taking that risk.
Auto crash City. It would be brilliant. But, we will see what happens. It's a nice kind of segue into the FA Cup, though, because we're now in a position where that's not necessarily the case in the FA Cup, because Liverpool are out. They get knocked out. And this was not just, a usual look at this as an absolute giant killing. So they were beaten 1-0 by Plymouth Argyle. Plymouth Argyle are currently bottom of the Championship. So, and absolutely have been, they are across all the divisions in the league. They have conceded more goals than any team in any professional football division in the country this year. So, then they're playing against currently top of the Premier League, Liverpool. So no one thinks what's going to, and they won 1-0. But they were, what an absolute legend.
I enjoyed watching them.
It was a proper cup upset, wasn't it? And fine, Liverpool are the best team in the world at the minute. Their under 18s aren't the best team in the world. It turns out, I guess. Liverpool
they took
put out quite a weakened side, but they had a front three. They had a front three of Luis Diaz, Diogo Jota, and Federico Chiesa. And then they brought Darwin Núñez.
They should have been able to score.
All of them can get a goal from nothing, and it just
goals in it and everything. Yeah.
What's happened is Plymouth have got the worst defensive record in the country. They brought in a couple of big, burly, absolute crazy Slavic centre backs just to transform their defence, and they just got on the end of absolutely everything. One of them, Nikola Katic, lost a tooth in trying to clear a ball, and they just basically just one of those performances where you've got the centre backs chucking themselves in the way of everything and celebrating it like it's a goal that you just really love to see. I think
that's what the FA Cup's really about. I I love that.
That is the beauty of the FA Cup, when occasionally, and it doesn't happen all the time, but every now and again you just get something like that where the impossible happens.
But I would say
it just doesn't normally happen to Liverpool.
Yeah, I would say Plymouth, they won from a penalty, which was a stupid decision from Harvey Elliott. He stood, he stood that far in front of the player. Player tries to hook it over his head, and he sticks his hands up. Clear penalty. The guy, he's going to the ref saying, "Oh well, he was only that far in front of me. How can it be a penalty?" It doesn't matter if it's that far in front when you literally do the YMCA to try and block it. Like, but Plymouth created some really good. Plymouth created some really good chances. Apart from that, I thought much more interesting moves than Liverpool managed.
They played an old-fashioned, bypass midfield, get it up into the channels. They played old-fashioned football, and Liverpool just. I mean, I think their first team would have handled that, and they would have controlled the game and everything like that. Yeah. But the kids just weren't used to playing that kind of football, and that just the big burly men just smashed over the top of them.
It's interesting as well because Arne Slot put all the kids in, obviously, but he put quite a few of them in out of position. So he was really sort of aggressively throwing that game almost because he didn't keep any of his stars on the bench.
I think he was just wanting to give kids in out of position. Players.
I think it was basically we're in one cup final, we're top of the league, we're top of the Champions League. If these lot manage to win it, fine, I'll give them the next game. But if not, then we've got some extra time off. I think that's the way he's seen it. But
it has kind of opened things up because if we look at the top teams in the country at the moment, you probably look at Arsenal and Liverpool are consistently the two top teams, and they're both out the FA Cup now.
Yeah.
So that kind of leaves it wide open. The bookies' favourites that's left will be Manchester City, who have got Plymouth Argyle next, by the way. Although it's at home, it's at City's place, so I'm expecting a slightly different result. But City aren't, and we talked about this on our chat and stuff like that City aren't a team this year that you think, oh, we all better fear them because they could just absolutely destroy everybody. You feel like any team's potentially got a chance.
Yeah, Real Madrid at the moment.
You look at the, they are. But you look at the rest of the draw, and Kyle, if you've got the BBC page up, if you click to the bit where it says March 2025, you'll see the draw for the next round. The only two teams in the draw that have won it in the last 25 years are Man City and Man United, and both of them are extremely beatable at the moment. Now, Man City at the latter stages of the FA Cup, when it could possibly be all that they've got to play for, that is a different proposition. You could see Pep going all out for that just so he can
what you'd
keep
hope
another
if
trophy.
Somebody knocks them out before that, isn't it?
I think
they've got Plymouth, but
they've got Plymouth, round. But I think it's a really high probability that in the FA Cup at least we're going to see a name on the trophy that we haven't seen in ages, if not ever. I
don't remember Wigan.
Well, yeah, but Wigan got knocked out, so they,
Oh wait, when did they win it?
2013.
10 years ago.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying. Out of the teams left, I think there's a high chance that one of them are going to win their first trophy in ages. Yeah.
It could be, or it could be Man United. Like somehow,
I can't do another Man United final.
Possibly do it. But it is possible. You are one of those strange teams that could just do that. You did it last year, and you were shit.
It's the elephant up a tree, isn't it?
You were actual shit, last year.
It's what United used to be in the 70s. They were brilliant in the cups and absolutely rubbish in the leagues. And it took till Fergie come in, and even he took a few years before he moved it along. I can't do another Manchester Derby final for the third year in a row. I just can't do it.
But hopefully you'll won last together at some point, and that'll be the end of that. But I would think ourselves, Villa and all that, I've got a big chance.
I think my money's on Villa. My money's on Villa. I thought they looked really good against Spurs, and I know it's only Spurs, but
Spurs just looked awful. I can't.
Rashford coming on, but more than that, Marco Asensio just looked different gravy when he came on. I thought.
But he's doing it against Spurs. Let's see him after a few weeks, though. Because Aston Villa actually haven't been quite that impressive, and it might be that these are a couple of new players in the door. They're a different kettle of fish now, but they've not been all that.
I just think
this year compared to last year.
If I'm Villa, and fine, clubs don't often have this mentality, and that's why we only see the same few clubs win the FA Cup. But if I'm Villa, you're not getting into the Champions League again next season. You're too far behind for that.
Well, I don't know.
The Champions League this year, you'll take that as far as you can, but actually win a bloody trophy rather than just put everything on getting fourth again for a second.
Well, I'm sure that would be like the Aston Villa fans would be. It's been and it's not as long as Newcastle, but it's been a while since they've won an FA Cup.
Not enough.
And they were a successful team back in the day.
Not enough of those mid-table clubs think that way, which is a shame, and that's why you only ever see City, United, Chelsea, Liverpool win it. It's
too much money in the Champions League.
Yeah, but it's I don't know.
But I mean, Premier League, I think a lot of them are, like that.
I think if City beat Plymouth, which they ought to, if City beat Plymouth this round, I think they'll draw an Aston Villa or a Newcastle, and I think they'll lose that game. Personally,
be nice.
Depends if they get another home tie or it's away or whatever. We might not be in it. We've got a home tie, but it's against Brighton, who have already beat us at home this year.
See, Brighton.
I don't know.
Brighton,
bit of a boga team for us.
Brighton can pull off a big win, but they're also capable of being really shit as well.
Yeah, Brighton aren't as good a team this year as they were last year, but they seem to have a way of getting results against us. It's maybe in a different situation in a cup competition, of course, but I'd rather get a shitter team. Let's be honest. At least we got a home tie. That's all I can ask. A home tie is all we can ever ask for.
Well, I thought I might be quite confident going into the Brighton game, but look at me now.
Yeah. I know. I thought you would win that. Yeah. So.
I thought we would as well, but we were terrible, absolutely terrible. Worst I've seen us in a long time.
Jadon Sancho making an absolute fool of himself, both in the game and then after the game, because he didn't have a good game.
I never saw. What did he do after the game?
Well, so he didn't have a good game for Chelsea, by all accounts. I didn't pay massively close attention to it, but he didn't have a good game. But then the following day after Villa beat Spurs, Marcus Rashford put up his normal Instagram story, and Jadon Sancho captioned it going, "All freedom." Whereas Jadon Sancho, for Ten Hag's first season, Jadon Sancho got basically a 3-month leave of absence to sort himself out, like personal issues wise. He got a 3-month leave of absence. He wasn't dropped. He wasn't rested. It was, you're not in the right space. You take the time that you need. Off you go. He comes back. He does fuck all. He falls out with Erik Ten Hag. He goes to Dortmund, puts in one good performance, and everyone sings his praises again. Then goes off to Chelsea, and he's on loan there, and he'll get bought for 25 million. And again, he's put in 1 or 2 good performances for Chelsea, and he's finally free of the shackles of, being paid £200,000 a week at Man United. Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford has not quite had the same situation, but he's also been in it's been a one-sided spat, but it's been a spat with Ruben Amorim. He's getting, he's still getting all of his wages paid, and he's being given the opportunity to go rebuild his career elsewhere. They've not been hard done by either of them.
Next year he could be back sitting there with Ruben going, "Hi, Ruben," and Ruben just stares daggers at him. He doesn't even say hello. He just stares daggers at him as if, "Why are you still at my club?"
Yeah, I don't see a world in which he stays at United next season, because, like I said a couple of weeks ago,
I wouldn't have thought so, but it depends.
Like I said a couple of weeks ago, as much as I'm sure that he's had sort of issues in his attitude and his application and performance, most importantly, I do think Ineos wants his wages off the books. And I think Amorim wants his wages off the books, so he's got money to spend for the rest of the squad. So I don't see it.
The question is, does Marcus Rashford want his wages off the books? And is
anybody
going to? No one will pay him. I mean, we all know this. No one is giving him what United pay him now. He's not worth that. He's not, unless he is a dazzling 6 months for Villa.
Yeah, Villa pretty much are paying that.
They're paying 85% or something, or they're not, which is decent. But it's a kind of. They're not having to pay a fee or anything like that. They're getting, so I think that's more the situation. But would they offer him, unless he's outstanding, would they offer him a contract anywhere close to that?
No, but I think given what happened with Sancho last season and where he's found himself, I think there is a similar scenario that can happen for Rashford, because I think he showed enough in that first game that if he keeps that up, it'll have a good time there, I think.
Dave, what do you think about Sancho? Because I thought when he came at first, he was starting to play well, and we were all, and Ryan alluded to that in terms of he had a couple of good games, but then he seemed to get dropped
he got injured,
and
then he got sick, and then he came back. But our entire attacking line's just been a bit mess, and said it doesn't feel like the same team as it was before Christmas, and I don't know if that's just that we've been found out now, or our players are just struggling with fitness.
What a podcast that I was listening to the other day said it was a bit like they looked good at the start while they were still getting to grips with Maresca, but now Maresca has coached them that much that all of the sort of off the cuffness and all of the improvisation's gone, because they're sort of within Maresca's framework, and they've lost a little bit. Even Cole Palmer's not quite as carefree as he used to be.
Is that what you're saying?
I think he's still creating chances, though. Palmer, is it's just they're not getting.
Palmer's created the most chances of any player in the league, and yet not one of them have been converted. So it's a striker situation at the moment.
Jackson
had been playing well. He had been playing well, but maybe he's just went off the boil a little bit. I don't know. But
and then both of our strikers injured now, so and I quite like Gayu, so. He's looking like he could be quite a good striker as backup, because he's big, strong, gives everything, which could be perfect for Palmer.
You don't know what's his name that went injured.
Oh, Felix. Yeah.
I mean, he was a good player to be able to bring in an attacking threat.
And he can play a couple positions.
Somebody good to bring in, but you don't have him now. So.
Yeah, we've got rid of a few players.
I guess he hadn't played that much in the first 6 months, so that's maybe what they were looking at. Well, how often's he played? What's the point?
Yeah.
Kind of deal.
Yeah, we might. I think we'd probably sell him in the summer if he plays well at Milan, which he's had a good game. That's all I know so far. I think he's had one game, which he played really well in. He does that, doesn't he?
One more question to ask you then. So, in the Carabao Cup, who do you think will win, Newcastle or Liverpool? You only get a choice here.
Newcastle.
So Dave, I'm
going to go with Newcastle. Optimism.
Right.
Yeah, Newcastle.
I think that's just the Man United fan speaking in you there. I'm going to go against the grain. I hope you're both right. I think Liverpool will end up winning, and it'll be another disappointment. Maybe I've just been experienced that too much over the years already to understand the other possibility. FA Cup, who do you think is going to win the FA Cup? Ryan?
Aston Villa.
Dave?
City.
Yeah. I'm going to go Newcastle for that, because I think Newcastle will get beat in the Carabao Cup final, and then we might go on to win the FA Cup, especially if somebody puts it City before us. And I think any other team left in we could beat on a one-off game, and have beat on a one-off game previously. Unless are Bournemouth still in it?
Yes, they are. They're home to Wolves in the next round.
Let's hope we do get them.
I can't see Bournemouth winning it though. It's just go and do. I think.
I know. Yeah. In a one-off game, they can play really well. The only team that's beat them recently is Liverpool, and they're out. So
Yeah, true.
You never know. Anyway, what we will do is finish up with our predictions for next week, because the Premier League is back this weekend. So we should have our predictions on the screen.
We do. What I will say is the Everton Liverpool game that we predicted last week. I think it was either last week or the week before. That is actually happening tomorrow as we record. So I've put it on this week's.
And that's why we've not updated our tables as well.
So that is happening tomorrow. In terms of other big games that are happening, City versus Newcastle, there's not a lot riding on it, but it should be a good sort of
There is a
good thing,
lot
Dom.
riding on it. It's a 6-pointer. We've got the exact. We're sitting in equal, like 5th place, 4th place, and we've got the same points and the same goal difference. Ryan, you couldn't get more. There's something in this game.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. And it's a battle for the top 4 spot, I suppose, is it? Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't
5.
mean much to say.
He's just forgotten about the top 4 nowadays, Cam.
I mean, the other big one, and this is going to be proper car crash TV, I think. Are
you on about Southampton Bournemouth?
No.
All right, that's a South. That's huge.
I'm on about the battle for 14th place, 13th place. That is Tottenham versus Man United. Both teams are really in a bad way. Yeah, I think I've gone for 4-3.
You say car crash TV.
I've gone for 4-3 because I just think both teams are in a bad place. I think United, for all the doom and gloom about United, they're in a far better place than Spurs. But within that, we sort of need a kick up the backside before we start playing still. Spurs are just prone to calamity, and we're at our best when there is a bit of calamity, I think. So I just think it is going to be the lowest quality game you've ever seen.
Ryan.
Yeah.
And I hope we get a 4-3 like you've predicted, because it'd be more fun for me to watch. But I've got a funny feeling neither team are really scoring any goals at the moment. Neither team seem to be able to score. So
the way a bit like my mid-table team should be winning the FA Cup more. My idealist thinks that Ruben Amorim and Ange Postecoglou should be looking across the way at each other and going, they're an absolute fucking mess, let's go for this. And it just that should be what happens. But I know from the United perspective, we are starting our games really slowly. We are trying to get used, we're trying
to be defensively solid.
It's not, I don't think it's even that we're trying to be defensive. It's we're trying to transition from being a counter-attacking team to a possession-based team, and we haven't got the confidence, we haven't got quite the passing networks to really keep the ball and create at the same time. So whenever we try a line breaking pass, it doesn't work the first time. It takes us another 10-15 minutes before we try another one. That's the issue. I would quite like, I mean, I said this ahead of Southampton. You look at Southampton, we should have been out the blocks flying, pressing them, whatever. It took us 90 minutes to actually do that. I would like to see us try and start strong and try and spook Spurs, because if you rattle Spurs a little bit, they've got errors in them. But we'll see what happens. But I do think,
and Spurs fan would be sitting here saying exactly the same thing.
Exactly.
If you rattle them, they'll get errors in them. So
I love Optimist Ryan as well. Optimist Ryan.
I mean, I've put 4-3 to United. It could just as easily be 4-3 Spurs. I just would love to.
That would be
love.
Though.
Ruben Amorim's really prioritised the process over the outcome this season, because he knows he's on a hiding to nothing in the league. I would love just for this game at least to go, do you know what, sod the process, let's just go for it and proper pull their pants down, because he needs a bit of positivity.
Neutrals outside of the league would probably
we've had a few late wins against Southampton, against Fulham, against Leicester on Friday, where there hasn't really been the elation at the late winner. It's just been thank God for that. Or even just like, in my case, it's slight annoyance that we've been that bad and still come out winning, if that makes sense. I'd just love to see us go for it from the start. But yeah, I don't know. I think we're probably
we'll see what happens.
Game.
Yeah, I'm watching it and I'm hoping for like drama, but at the same time, I've got in the back of my head me going at 30 minutes in, Ryan, this is shit. Both these teams are fish and they can't attack at all.
But when I say it's car crash,
in my head.
When I say it's car crash TV, one of two things is going to happen. It's either going to be the most bonkers game you've ever seen in your life, or it is going to be the lowest display of quality you've ever seen in your life, and that's going to be entertaining for different reasons.
I mean, possibly. It depends what pleasures we take in life, doesn't it? Dave, you've got a chance to get revenge. You're playing Brighton away, so need a better performance.
I'm not sure we have a mentality for this anymore. Really,
I think it's really nice that the fixture schedulers and the TV companies have scheduled Brighton and Chelsea on Valentine's Day, because of their long-standing loving relationship.
It's
more like a one-sided relationship. We love them more than they love us.
Yeah, you give them money, they begrudgingly give you someone
luxury items. They give us
sugar daddy situation, basically.
It's kind of like they're your prostitute and you pay them for sex. So it's not really Valentine as much as it's more like the sex.
Well, that would imply that we're, getting the better of them. And
because
that is your argument. Who gets the better in a situation?
I mean,
the person who pays the money or the sex worker that's getting paid?
I don't partake, but the vibe I get is that actually you go into it thinking this is going to be great, and you come out of it really disappointed. So,
feeling a bit filthy and.
I genuinely don't know. But I know a few guys that do. But enough about that. That'll do us for this week before we go on.
That's going to be our intro, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah.
But anyway, we hope, barring some sort of complication we can't foresee right now, that we'll be back next week. Remember, if you did enjoy watching us this week, it would really help us to get a subscribe button. Plus, at the same time, you then get notified like each week when we do release a new video. And we've got some shorts as well that we've been doing. Ryan and I have been doing some just like on our own thoughts on our own team's games just straight after the game, like quick reactions on how the game went, good or bad. So hope to keep that going as well. So check them out, and you'll obviously get notified about them when they drop as well if you subscribe. So it would really help us out. Thanks very much for watching. See you next time.